Good morning, everybody. It's 8:05 a.m. here in New York City, also 8:05 a.m. down in Miami, Florida, which we will get to in a moment. But good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Julie
How are you?
Roginski. I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm great.
Good. I wanted to, let's see, this morning, today is December 10th, and I'd like to wish my husband a very, very happy birthday. It is his birthday today. So happy birthday, Joe. Um, and also my mom's getting some health stuff done today, so I want to send good vibes to mom.
Yep.
Um, and also yesterday, if you were watching the show, and you heard like massive amounts of fire trucks and things going on in the background. There was a 4 alarm fire
Oof.
uh, not so far away, and it was pretty wretched. But I will say that the New York City Fire Department responded in 3 minutes. Three. So, greatest fire department in the world. It's pretty
Well,
miraculous.
first of all, happy birthday, Joe. Second,
Yay.
hi, Mrs. Kinney. I hope everything goes well today.
Yeah.
And those pictures from that fire were incredible, Michelle.
Crazy, right?
Crazy pre-war. It was a beautiful pre-war building, and you just saw. I mean, this made all the New York news. You just
Yeah.
saw huge flames erupting from the
Yeah.
top. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if the building can be saved, but certainly the top few
Yeah.
floors
And it's
are
just like
gone.
the trucks were, I don't know where they were coming from, but they were like, brr, brr, so many.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, because it was looked like a pretty bad fire. But yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy. But
Yep.
thank you, FDNY.
Yes, thank you, FDNY, for being the best. The FDNY
Mhm.
just
Truly the best.
really the best. They're so good.
3 minutes is crazy. Like
I know.
that's miraculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
So, Michelle,
Yeah.
we did a little thing on Nick Fuentes yesterday, which we'll get to in a moment. Um, but I just want to talk a little bit about the comments that we got from his little acolytes. Do we have comments, Michelle?
I don't have them on the computer, but I can read a couple of them.
Sure, sure.
Let's see here. Let's see. I take more offense to how manipulated and propagandized my grandparents who fought in World War II were than to anything Nick Fuentes says, and I have
Oh,
complete confidence that they would agree if they were alive today. I had one grandfather in each theater, and the one in European waters actually started questioning on his own later in life if Hitler really was the enemy. Nick won, deal with it, ribs. Nick is absolutely right. No one gives a shit. Nick went into detail on his own show last night about why he thinks Hitler is cool. If you really were interested in doing actual analysis, you would go and listen to that show in its entirety. Let's see. You should watch the whole thing instead of just the clips. Two dumb talking women. Christ is king. And then something about wine moms talking about a guy that we don't like. So the Groypers came. The Groypers
well,
found us.
yes, they did. But it's interesting that they came yesterday because also yesterday or 2 days ago, the New York Post, which is no friend to liberals,
Right.
um, put out a interesting article, the headline of which was Nick Fuentes may be racist, but relies on Nigeria and India to fuel his popularity online. And I'm just going to read you.
Interesting.
Yes. I'm going to read you just a few first paragraphs. White
Yeah.
supremacist Nick Fuentes doesn't seem to mind benefiting from bot farms in Pakistan, India, and Nigeria promoting his content. The Post has
Interesting.
learned a new analysis of the Holocaust denying firebrand tweets show they are boosted online by an army of foreign bots, mostly originating in countries that want to destabilize the U.S., according to an investigation. Fuentes' sudden apparent surge in popularity over the last year is faked based on, quote, algorithmic amplification powered by bot farms, according to Network Contagion Research Institute, a nonprofit that studies extremism on the internet.
Wow.
So, yeah, they point to how Fuentes appears to outperform ex-owner Elon Musk, even though he has a fraction of Musk's 239 million followers with just 1.1 million. So, to our Nigerian and Pakistani friends who are watching the show from their bot farms, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. I hope you are getting handsomely compensated for putting out this bullshit.
Honest
But I'm
to God.
sure your
Yeah.
grandfather did not start to question whether Hitler was actually a
Yeah.
bad
That
guy.
didn't. Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Well, this
So,
really
yeah,
confirms this confirms some of the stuff, and there has been reports on this in the last was it a couple weeks that Twitter um did a thing. They changed something internally where you could see where all of the accounts were from. And like all these MAGA accounts, same thing, were from like Nigeria or like India. And then we're all like bot farm stuff from not America. And it became so apparent within like a day they shut it down. So,
yeah,
that's and it's hard as a human being to not, look at that stuff and be like, well, what, but most of it's not real. Most of it.
yeah. So, just to put it out there, we will continue to make fun of Nick Fuentes.
Yes.
We will continue to mock him. We will
Hmm.
continue to point out that he's full of shit. And we'll also continue to point out that although people think that he's having some sort of popularity surge,
Yeah.
in
It's
fact, it is
manufactured. Yeah.
totally manufactured. And I guess if Michelle, if you and I wanted to put a few bucks behind some bot farms, we too would be, I don't know, outperforming Nick Fuentes, I guess. But we don't do that because we aren't psychopaths.
No,
We
and this is
talk about how
becoming
Hitler was cool.
I mean, honest to God. And this really and maybe we can find some tech person or somebody like to come on and talk about this stuff. But this is what even PR firms are starting to use now in order to smear um, people that they might be in a lawsuit with. I mean, this is what happened to Blake Lively. There's an entire story written in the New York Times about this. It is insane. If you look
It's called
back,
astroturfing.
is that what it's called? Well, you know more about it than I do.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But what is real, also, last night, so I went to the Russian Samovar last night.
Ooh,
I haven't been in years. I used to love going. And then after the Ukraine invasion, I like stopped going. And then I don't know, I felt really bad. Julie, you said to me, I think on the show or one of the others, you were like, "Don't do that. Like, that's not," and I was like, "You
well,
know
those
what?"
guys at Russian Samovar have nothing to do with. I mean,
I know. I don't like,
yeah,
what,
it was started by Russian immigrants back in the I don't know
I
70s,
know. I
whatever.
know. I know. I was like, that's not fair of me. And
Yeah,
and I, of course I walked in and I saw a Ukrainian flag and I was like, God damn it. So
yeah.
anyways, we went for Joe's birthday with a bunch of his lawyer friends, and we were coming home and I was on the C train and I look across from me and I'm like, is that Mark Halperin? And I'm sitting there and I'm like starting to my blood pressure is going up. And I'm like typing on my phone, to Joe, and I'm like, Mark Halperin. And he's like, I think so. And I'm like looking at him and he's like talking loud to some lady. And I'm like, didn't recognize him at first because he looks older and
Fatter.
yeah. And it really took everything inside of me and for my husband to hold me back from not shouting at this man after I'd had a couple of martinis on my way home.
It's interesting 'cause I know a few of the women who were harmed by Mark Halpern, and they're still not over it. They're
Mm-mm.
they're not over it.
Yeah, and he somehow clawed his way back into some sort of relevance by, that clip that we showed the other day with Megyn Kelly talking about how she wanted more blood and gore and people being blown up. He's sitting on the other side of that because he owns a company with her.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Anyways,
Anyway,
but good
so
news.
we've got good news though, guys. We've got
Yeah.
incredibly good news. Yesterday, there were two elections, one in Georgia, special for the House, for a Georgia House seat that encompasses southern Athens, Georgia, which is a pretty liberal
Mm,
town, and it's conservative and a conservative county abutting it. Um, and this is a very strong Republican seat. A Democrat flipped it last night.
crazy.
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 Twelve
I just
points.
took a screenshot here. I'm gonna throw this up because I'm looking at the headlines and it's just you kind of can't even believe it. And of course I screenshot the wrong thing. But yeah, I mean this is showing trouble in the water like major,
Oh,
major
but
trouble
there's
in the
more.
Congress.
So
Right.
first of all, this guy, Eric Geisler, flips a state house seat in a district that Trump won by 12 points.
Mm-hmm.
12 points. So that's one. That's down in Georgia. And then
Yep.
moving a little further south, um, in Miami yesterday, for the first time in 28 years, a Democrat won control of the mayorship. Became
Mm-hmm.
the next mayor of Miami is going to be a Democrat named Eileen Higgins. She defeated a Trump-backed opponent, becoming the first Democrat to win the mayorship in nearly, as I said, nearly 30 years, 28 years. And I believe she won that, I mean, double-digit win. She won it by almost 60%.
Wow.
Landslide in Miami.
Wow.
I have often wondered why Democrats don't invest more in Florida and have just written
Yeah,
Florida. The Florida
completely.
completely have written Florida off. There's no reason. She won in large part because of the economy, but also because of immigration.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gone too far.
Mm-hmm.
Even people who supported him in immigration understand he's gone too far.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
there's MAGA people who were starting to, you know, see this, and the abject cruelty of how they are treating people is, you know, it's awful. And when you have huge immigrant communities like in Miami, um, what do people expect? I mean, alligator Alcatraz and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah, and let me just say this. I'm going to give you guys some stats, so it's not just all of us. So a
yeah.
recent poll found that most Americans believe Trump, and I quote, is a dangerous dictator whose powers should be limited before he destroys American democracy. Okay, that's one. Another poll found that his approval slump is persistent, fueled by growing economic worries and public alarm over his cavalier talk of, quote, illegal orders.
Hmm.
And his own voters are peeling away from him and losing confidence.
Yep.
Um, but Michelle, what's behind the shift, right? Obviously, the economy is the economy. But I think
Mhm.
there's something more obvious than that, and that is that Trump just exhausts people.
Oh,
There's no
yeah.
there's no
America's
quiet day,
scared.
there's no unclenched hour, there's no sense that he's capable of governing without drama or grievance.
Mhm.
And it turns out that Americans don't want to live in a perpetual reality show where the nuclear codes meet the apprentice. We just don't.
Nuclear. Oh my god. What a
We
way
just
to
don't.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because remember Trump joked back in 2023 about wanting to be a dictator only on day one.
Mhm. And people like didn't take it seriously.
And now they are, and they're finally taking him both literally and seriously.
And you know, this is where, and we can talk about this, we can dig in either here or on a dispatch in the coming days. But the Heritage Foundation and the people who are in Trump's orbit, the people like Stephen Miller, who's the mastermind, quote unquote, behind this immigration policy, which is horrendous. Russ Vogt, who is behind dismantling the government. JD Vance, who's like, the lazy vice president who just sits around while everybody else does everything. They're feeling pretty good because they have been able to accomplish 80% of Project 2025.
Mhm.
Project 2025, which was published in a book, and people were told about it and people were warned about it. But much like always, people don't hear it until they see it. And then they're experiencing it. And now here we are. So they've already come out with plans for 2026. And these people are double, tripling, quadrupling down, especially as they're looking down the barrel of midterms, especially like nights like last night in Miami and in Georgia. Um, and Trump is becoming increasingly more like a caged animal with dementia. And so, not to go to the dark place here on December 10th, 2025, but things are, going to get worse before they get better.
For
They
sure.
just are.
For
Yeah.
sure.
That's just something we have to prepare for.
Yeah. I think it's something that we have to think about. I think we also have to think about the fact that we have just the people are mobilizing, right? Like you see
Mhm.
this in election after election after election. You saw landslides in New Jersey, you saw landslides in Virginia, you saw landslides in California, you saw Democrats win 3 statewide state level seats in Georgia for the first time, also in 30 years, back in November. You saw them break a supermajority in Mississippi. I mean, this is happening not just in Democratic cities and states like New York City with the Zohran Mamdani and in New Jersey with Mikey Sherrill, but you also see this in swing states. You see this in southern states that are much more conservative.
Right.
Across the board, you're seeing massive defeats for Republicans, massive.
Yep.
And Donald Trump has one of two choices, because the last thing he wants is Democrats getting control of the House and the Senate, not just stymieing his agenda. I don't really think he cares about a policy agenda, because he just is going to govern by executive order, and the Supreme Court's going to let him. But he does care about investigations.
Yes.
And while I think he's going to ignore those investigations and just ignore Congress, because he's got immunity to do that, he doesn't want the attention focused on all of his investigations. He doesn't want the subpoena power. He doesn't want any of that stuff. Because if Congress subpoenas private entities, that's different. They can't ignore this the way that the Trump administration can.
Right.
And, what I find fascinating is, if you're Donald Trump, what are you going to do? You're not going to, this is why I think it's kind of a scary time. You see which way the wind is blowing. And I'm not so sure that you're not going to do everything possible. Stop it, not by changing policies, not by changing your approach, not by buckling down and doing the work, but by leaning even more into an anti-democratic worldview.
And right, and doing anything. I mean, again, we've talked about this, the possibility of using the military in the streets to eventually, normalize this. So when there's military in the streets, when you're going to the ballot box in October and November of next year to vote early or to vote on the day of the election, that's all about intimidation. I hate to be like this, but it's like, what funny business he's gonna be doing with the midterms? I'm concerned. Every American should be concerned. And as part of DHS, there was some election security measures that we had in place that Kristi Noem has fired the people who were there and put loyalists in there. So there's things like this that have been happening and piling up. And on a big day where Donald Trump can literally lose everything. And Mike Johnson, I think it was the day after that major sweep back in last month on election day, he said, if Democrats win and they win back the House, they win back the Senate, this administration is over. They will impeach him and they will remove him from office. And I'm like, well, don't threaten me with a good time. You know what I mean? And that they see it. They know that the American people are angry. And that's why Donald Trump went to Mount Pocono last night. And because he's launching a midterm blitz, right?
Yeah. And
he hasn't done a rally in a while. And people have been talking about this because they're like, is it his health? Like, what's going on? And he's tired, he's sundowning, he's yawning, he's falling asleep during meetings. But they put him up in front of a crowd yesterday. And before I play any clips from this, because we do have some clips, I want to play a clip. News Nation went around and talked to Pennsylvania voters yesterday and asked them what they're thinking, how they're feeling. And I just want to play this first.
We're still struggling, even when we have our money coming through. We had to suffer going almost a week with no food.
I mean, food prices are up, but I think gas is down. Coming down. I think things are getting a lot better.
The economy's down the tubes. Healthcare is awful. Prescriptions are terrible. Groceries are off the charts. Yep. And I think the only way we're going to do better is if he gets out and somebody else gets in.
I mean, that's Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania, which I know you have a house in Pennsylvania. You spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, not in the Poconos.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but just to let people know where he is, that is Monroe County, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Monroe County, Pennsylvania is a very swing county. They voted for Trump last time. They voted for Biden in 2020.
Yeah,
back and forth. And Monroe County is rural. It's got some towns in it, but a lot of it is is beautiful. I mean, if anybody's
Oh,
ever been,
gorgeous.
anybody ever been to the Poconos, like lakes and
Yeah.
mountains and just
We drive through there every time
Yeah.
to go upstate, and I'm always very conscious of like what signs I'm seeing, what I'm seeing on people's cars, what, and it's like, because I always am like, this is
Yeah.
kind of a telltale, right? Sign of what's to come. And when we were driving through recently, obviously there wouldn't be any signs up, but it's like every time I drive through certain parts of like Pennsylvania and even upstate New York, I'm like, these places are so economically depressed. Oh, sorry. There's drama happening. What's going on? Sorry. They're economically depressed. And sorry, something happened with the cat. I don't know. Joe's running after him. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. But these places are very economically depressed, and I really feel for them. I'm like, these people are struggling. There are parts of this country where people are struggling. And Donald Trump, it always seems like he's just like annoyed by it. Just annoying to
It
him.
doesn't think it's real because he's not struggling and his friends aren't struggling.
Right.
And then when
Right.
they point out to him that farmers are struggling, he's like, great, let's give them $12 billion to subsidize them for their losses, which doesn't begin to even cover their losses. And by the way, they have to start planting season for some of these crops is now, or, before the frost. So they're planning for next year. They don't know what to plan. I think the problem with Trump's tariffs, the worst part of Trump's tariffs is they don't know what the plan is for these tariffs. And
unpredictable.
And therefore, they don't know what to do with their own products. And so a lot of this, I think, is stress, not just about what's happening now, but stress for the future. I mean, I don't even know if you're a farmer, what you are going to do.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. And we have some clips of some farmers too who have been really making the round. Before we get there, I just want to play a few clips from this rally last night because we're talking about them. Just he's a caged animal. He's tripling down. There is no consequence for anything he says, anything he does. And he very clearly again has animosity and resentment towards the American people who are saying to him, we're suffering, and he's like, no, you're not.
Prices are coming down very substantially, but they have a new word. They always have a hoax. The new word is affordability.
And then he talks about pricing.
Rent prices are down. Dairy prices are coming down very strongly. The cost of rent price.
Oh wait, that's and then he goes on a whole thing about immigration.
Somalia and many other countries. And they've been taken care of. I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shithole, you did. Remember I said that to the senators they came in? The Democrats. They wanted to be bipartisan. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. Nothing mentioned here. We want to be honest because our country was going to hell. And we had a meeting. And I say, why is it we only take people from shithole countries, right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
That's code for black people and white people. Send us people from countries where there's white people.
But here's something that I think bears mentioning too when I was watching this. Trump just released his national security strategy on Friday, which I've been doing a deep dive on and is just a complete and utter nightmare. One of the things about it is that he criticizes Europe, which, whether he knows it or not, includes Norway and Sweden and Denmark, for being essentially overrun by migrants, that they're losing their character, that they are going to lose their cultural, I forgot the term, but it's like cultural significance or something.
Yeah.
Effectively, they're not going to be white countries anymore.
Yeah.
And this is not just him at a rally. This is now actually officially American national security policy.
Yep.
That they believe that Europe needs to elect far-right governments, and they say this in order to stop the Muslification, blackification. I don't even know what it is, right?
Yep.
And we're perilously close to just a racial.
Yeah. This is some Aryan nightmare shit.
This is some Aryan nightmare shit, as Michelle said. This is coming from the President of the United States, and it's not just at a rally in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania.
Right.
This is actually in the national security strategy of the United States government.
Yep.
And for anybody who is like, well, I don't really like comparisons to Hitler.
Well,
you guys, I'm sorry, but this is getting really perilously close here.
We're there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, yeah. And, again, to bring it back to, when Joe and I were coming home from dinner last night, we were talking about this, and I was explaining to him the conversation that we'd had about D-Day and World War II and Nick Fuentes and everything yesterday. And I was like, the Holocaust didn't start with the gas chambers. It didn't even start with the camps. It started with words, and then words into hatred, and then hatred into policy and elections. And and then at the internment camps and the concentration camps, I was like, and then only after several years was that an extermination plan, and it was industrialized. And, we were like, think about how many people, 10 million, 6 million of which were Jews, because this was the final solution to their question and problem. And what's happening right now in the United States of America is we are taking innocent people with no criminal record who have done nothing wrong except maybe be here illegally. But even then, a lot of these people are not. They're being plucked from courthouses right before they're about to take an oath to become citizens of the United States. ICE is going into these places and taking them out. Families, babies, children, women, men. And this is a report on CNN yesterday about an ICE facility in Texas. And this is why, again, places like Miami are voting for Democrats for the first time in 30 years.
This morning, details from inside a Texas detention facility where children are being held, descriptions of what it really is like in there. New court documents are revealing that immigrant families detailing and describing long days with limited access to drinkable water, worms and mold in food, and being denied medical care. An immigrants' rights group, even an immigration rights group, telling CNN this. Families tell us that their children are weak, faint, pale, and often crying because they are so hungry. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez is joining us now. She's got much more on this. Tell us more about your new reporting, Priscilla.
Well, Kate, this really offers a glimpse into what is happening at this family detention facility in Dilley, Texas, a place where reporters can't visit. But in this case, we are getting these court declarations from families who are detained there through immigration attorneys who are revealing the conditions. Now, Kate, just to level set here, these are families who have been apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border or even in the United States at encounters like ICE check-ins or vehicle checkpoints. Now, these declarations are about this residential facility, as it's called, but detainees are calling it a prison. Let me read you what one mother who's detained with her daughter had to say. She said, quote, "It's a prison here. It is truly a living hell. It's not a good place for anyone. All of the children here are suffering. The mothers are crying, especially for their children. We are all suffering." And this is really a theme in the more than 24 declarations that were filed. Despondent children, as you mentioned there, medical conditions going poorly treated. Children unable to sleep because the lights are always on. And when we're talking about children here, we're talking as young as infants. There was a 9-month-old mentioned in one of the declarations, as well as teenagers. One of those teenagers also shared a testimony with attorneys, and this is what she had to say. She said, quote, "The kids here can get sad when people get deported or their friends leave. Kids are tired of doing the same thing every day. We try to help kids who are sad and teach them to play a new game. Sometimes kids don't eat when they are sad. Now, Kate, I have covered family detention for many years. Oftentimes it has been used especially for families who just crossed the U.S.-Mexico border, so they don't really have bearings in the United States. In this case, however, what was striking with these court declarations is these are families who were living in the United States. These are kids who were enrolled in school and going to school. So it is a stark reality for them now to be at this detention facility and not have the typical routines that they are used to. And that is why in these declarations they say kids are regressing while they're held and waiting for deportation, immigration. And
I think CNN for this reporting, it's important. But maybe if they couldn't platform Katie Miller later in the day, who is part of this regime and whose husband is the mastermind behind all of this torture and cruelty of human beings being paid for by American taxpayers in our name.
You watch that and then everybody's going to move on with their day, including us.
Yep.
And you think about, and I know this is going to be very heavy, but when you think about what people were saying about regular Germans back in the Hitler era, the Nazi era, and how they just went on with their day. And it's not that many of them thought that Jews needed to be in concentration camps. It's just that they had other things to do and they weren't going to do anything about this. Meanwhile, these kids are in a concentration camp. They're in a concentration camp. They're not in an extermination camp, but they're in a concentration camp. We are caging children. We are denying them food. We are denying them life. I mean, they're alive, but they're not living.
No.
And there's going to be a time when we look back on this era and our children and our grandchildren are going to say, what did you do? And all of us are going to say, nothing. We voted. We talked. We expressed outrage. But I mean, I've always said, as much as everybody's like Trump, and Hegseth and Pam Bondi, whoever, the person who needs to go to prison first, I mean, really go to prison. And I mean, for the rest of her natural life, and not just prison, but like some hole in the ground, is Christino.
Oh, absolutely. And throw away the key. Throw away the key.
I mean,
she's a wretched, wretched human being.
Yeah. And it's just, at the same time as this is happening, there's an organization, I don't know if you're familiar with it, Michelle, called Civicus, which is a nonprofit that monitors civic freedoms in 198 countries. And
I didn't know this.
And on Tuesday, it just placed the United States in its obstructed category. And it cited, quote, a sharp deterioration of fundamental freedoms in the country following a year of sweeping executive actions, restrictive laws, and aggressive crackdowns on free speech and dissent. And what that means is that we're on the cusp, right? Basically, what they're saying, an obstructed ranking still applies to countries where you could still protest, right? You could still civil society organizations still exist, but the government undermines them, including through legal surveillance and bureaucratic harassment and just demeaning public statements and constantly trashing them. And the description said of why we've been downgraded: citizens can organize and assemble peacefully, but they are vulnerable to frequent use of excessive force by law enforcement agencies, including rubber bullets, tear gas, and baton charges. With respect to the media, they said there is some space for non-state media and editorial independence, but journalists face the risk of physical attack and criminal defamation charges, which encourages self-censorship. Of course it does.
Yeah.
And talks about the restriction of free speech on college campuses, which basically says universities have suspended student groups and open investigations under broad and vague accusations of, quote, material support for terrorism. Foreign-born students and faculty have been disproportionately targeted, facing disciplinary actions, visa threats, and professional retaliation for supporting Palestinian rights. Talks about Trump's revocation of funding for NPR and PBS. Talks about the new White House Wire, which is the White House run news website that promotes positive news about the administration.
Yep.
Um,
Not to mention the new press pool at the Pentagon. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And, the upshot of this is, and this is from Mandeep Tiwana, who's the Secretary General of this organization, he said the backsliding of rule of law and fundamental freedoms in the United States is truly alarming. We are witnessing a rapid and systemic attempt to stifle civic freedoms that Americans have come to take for granted, such as critiquing authorities and protecting peacefully. As the USA prepares to mark 250 years since the American Revolution, we urge the government to course correct and uphold the civic freedoms enshrined in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So, do you know who we're joining in this obstructed category now? Hungary, Brazil, and South Africa.
Hungary, led by Viktor Orban,
Orban,
who has come to the United States to speak at CPAC in Texas a few years ago, and CPAC held a convention in Budapest.
So, we're on the cusp. We are on the cusp. And as much as I don't believe that Trump, even if he kept Mein Kampf next to his bed, as Ivana Trump claims that he actually read it, because I don't think Trump's ever read a book in his life.
No,
That's
I think maybe somebody read it to him.
Maybe somebody read it to him as a night story. But
sorry, it's not funny.
But I have read Mein Kampf, actually. I have a copy of Mein Kampf, which I have now put away in a somewhere, because people will come to my house and they'd see it on the shelf. They'd be like, what the hell is this? But I read Mein Kampf because I think everybody should read Mein Kampf, because I think it is a cautionary tale and also explains quite a bit about history that still impacts us. And he wrote that from prison, Hitler, in the 1920s.
Yeah.
And he was not looking to, nobody at the time that he wrote it thought that he was going to, maybe he thought it, but certainly the German people didn't think that he was going to 10 years later become the Chancellor of Germany.
No. And did so and dismantled democracy by using legal means.
Legal means, yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, he basically got the Reichstag to give him dictatorial power, but legally. But what I want to be clear about is that he was incredibly. It's my mom's phone. My mother's here. What is fascinating is that he did this and outlined kind of a plan, but it was all rhetoric. It was all words. That's all it was. And that's what we think all of this is, except it's not. They're putting them into action. It's not just words. It's not. They have gone further than Mein Kampf ever did, because Mein Kampf was just a book written by a guy sitting in a prison cell in Munich.
Yeah.
Whereas here, he was, whereas here, it's the opposite. It's the complete opposite. They're actually implementing these policies, and they're implementing them in the way that you just read about these kids in cages. Literally.
And to kind of connect that with the press, the sycophantic press that is now infiltrated not just the Pentagon, but the White House. Now, there are a few good ones left in the White House, but are they sticking up for each other? But this question was asked yesterday at a roundtable at the White House. And the question is about an insurrection that Donald Trump helped to incite. And all of these people were punished for, and it makes me think of Adolf Hitler and why he was in prison, and then he writes a thing and he comes back, and people were and the New York Times even wrote a story back then that said that Hitler had been tamed by prison. So I'm just going to play this clip here.
Biden's kangaroo court for 4 years. And this is an important question to me. Everyone knows that J6 was a Fed's direction to set you and your supporters up. So my question is, what's your gut instinct about the new pipe bomber suspect taken into custody? Does your instinct tell you that he acted alone? And also, Mr. President, how do you feel about the lead prosecutor on the pipe bomber case? Jocelyn Ballantine is the same prosecutor that allegedly asked the J6er to lie to frame you for J6 when you did nothing wrong. What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that question. It's sort of a statement, and I appreciate it very much. Jocelyn.
I mean, did people catch that? She called it a Fedsurrection. And then she said that they had done nothing wrong, that they were set up, and that the prosecutor on the pipe bomb case is also setting him up. And that January 6th people did nothing wrong. And that person is in the White House press pool asking a question to the president of the United States, who then responds, thanks her for the question, and then says, well, it was kind of a statement, but thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't know what else to say here, you know?
Yeah.
It's whoever thought, you know what I mean? I mean, we did, but also just seeing it in real time is just so shocking and so jarring. To have somebody like that in the White House press pool asking questions like that. And, you know, of course, in that same roundtable, and this is again where we're talking about reporters and the press pool not standing up for each other. He took this opportunity to attack another female reporter. Oh, what's happening? I don't know what happened. There's just an echo. I'm going to play this.
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was
You're
up
the
to
most
Secretary Hicks.
obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, a terrible reporter. And it's always the same thing with you. I told you, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
So, a couple of things there. One is that's Rachel Scott of ABC News, and she's an excellent reporter. Excellent. Yep. But what is fascinating is that she was asking him about the fact that he had promised a few days ago to release video of the second strike that we talked about repeatedly on the show. Pete Hegseth, of course, doesn't want to do that because it's yet another war crime that he doesn't want the American people to see. And Trump is now backpedaling and basically saying whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me. But what is disgusting to me about that clip is that the rest of the White House press corps, at least the good ones who are still there, did not stand up and say, you know what, Mr. President, we're sick of this shit of you going after us personally. And so we're going to all ask you the same question. Like, why don't you just team up and say, until you answer Rachel Scott's question, that's the only question that we're going to ask. Or you could just walk out and this, but they're so afraid of having access cut off. Which I say, who gives a shit? Pete Hegseth threw everybody out of the Pentagon and they're still reporting on him and doing great work.
Yeah. Yep. Including, I mean, Melissa Corrigan, who was on our show earlier this week talking about, you know, illegal strikes, illegal orders to delete. I mean, the information is still getting out, even though they have a bunch of, you know, twinks with press, you know, passes at the Pentagon taking selfies and doing like content at the podium. Like none of it's serious. And it's all part of like this state-run kind of state-sanctioned media apparatus. It's all a joke. It's all a joke.
Throw him out. I mean, just he wants to throw you out, throw him out. It doesn't matter.
It's going to anyways.
Yeah, you think Rachel Scott can't do her job from outside the Pentagon? What does she get being in there?
Yeah.
She asks the question, he doesn't answer it, he insults her, and then he moves on. So why are you even there?
Right. Why even be there? And again, it's always a woman. It's always a woman.
Always.
And
in this case, it's a black woman, but go ahead, of course.
Right. And while he did thank that one woman for, because like, I mean, everything with women and Donald Trump is it's so transparent, right? It's like, are you a woman who's useful to me, or are you a woman who is hot to me? Maybe it's both. And if you're not, then you're useless to me and you're obnoxious and I'm going to insult you. And at that rally last night, by the way, he talked about Caroline Leavitt's lips again. She's 27 years old. Disgusting. Says this to an entire crowd of people talking about her lips.
Superstar today, Caroline. Stand up, girl. Isn't she great? Is Caroline great? You know, when she goes on television, Fox Like, I mean, they dominate. They dominate when she gets up there with that beautiful face and those lips that don't stop, up, like a little machine gun.
You guys, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I
This is
mean,
fucked up. This is the president of the United States, the
talking
most
about his press
powerful man on
secretary.
earth. Person talking about a woman who, despite her many shortcomings,
Yeah.
I presume wants to be taken seriously. And all he's doing is objectifying her and talking about her lips.
Mhm.
By the way, she'll be working at Fox in the next, 6 months.
Oh,
But
absolutely. And if you notice too, she keeps overdrawing her lips more and more and more. This whole thing is sick. It's sick. And it's sick both ways. And not that I think anyone deserves to be talked to or about that way. I certainly do not. I'll be the first person to stand up and say, don't talk about her like that. But some of them welcome it and they love it. And again, like Caroline Levitt's another one who has sold her soul, not only her dignity. I mean, being talked about like that by an old, dirty man in front of a crowd of thousands of people. The mother of her nephew was rounded up by ICE just, I think, last week, who's now that mother has spoken out being like, I let and invited Caroline Levitt into my life. And I regret this now. And again, like this is where Donald Trump is in trouble. And he is not stopping and there's no one stopping him. There is no filter. And there's just the last thing on this ICE thing, just for today. Tim Dillon, who is a conservative comedian who was instrumental, one of the conservative comedians who was instrumental in riling up the manosphere over the last 4 or 5 years, has been very vocal about this as well. And I just want to play this clip.
Trades are so barbaric and they're so crazy. And these like 19-year-old college students are being deported to Honduras and they've lived there their whole life. Again, it's wrong on its face. Like it shouldn't be happening in the chaotic, insane way that it's happening. When you look at someone, a grandmother, get handcuffed and zip tied and thrown into a car by a bunch of masked psychopaths, not only is that wrong, but if the choice becomes that or having no immigration enforcement, a lot of people are just going to go, well, we don't want to be part of this. We don't want to do this. So then you have a situation where you have people coming in, you don't know who they are, because you've made immigration regulation synonymous with zip tying children and old women and rushing into high school graduations. So any enforcement, people are going to go, well, we don't want to be part of that. So some of these ICE rates, I just look at them and I go, long term, what exactly? I mean, now Palantir's gotten in on the game. Palantir's said, we're gonna help you deport people. This is the tech company's game, by the way.
And I want to point out, first of all, that it's important that people like this are speaking out. It certainly means something, but also Stephen Miller has a financial stake in Palantir, which is using tech to round people up and track them down.
Yeah, and don't forget, Doge turned a lot of that information over to Palantir.
Yep. I mean, Doge wasn't a waste, fraud, and abuse. It was a cyber attack against the United States of America to steal all of our data and use it.
And it's interesting because Elon Musk went on Katie Miller's podcast, of course he did, to talk about all of this, and he effectively said that he was going to. Where I'm going to pull up his quote. Hold on. He said Doge was, quote, somewhat successful, but that he wouldn't do it again. Yeah, it was somewhat successful. It wasn't successful in cutting the use.
Yeah.
But what he did was get all of our personal information, our social security numbers, some of our medical records, all of that. And now they have it.
Yep.
Now they have it.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's
Big
going on.
And all those
Big Balls has it. And he said, instead of doing Doge, I would have worked at my companies, essentially, and they wouldn't have been burning the cards. Womp womp. Elon Musk, you know full well that even if you were working at your company and nobody was burning the cars, the minute that you got your hands on all of our personal information, it was mission accomplished for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and then he went on to talk about the Somali community because he's racist, and went after Ilhan Omar. And then he said, look at Ilhan Omar, who was literally voted into power, voted into Congress by, a large group of people from Somalia who are in Minnesota, which is really far from Somalia. Well, he's in this country in Texas, which is really far from South of Africa, where he was born. Yeah. But it's okay for him to be here and not okay for the Somalis to be here. They're both from Africa. I wonder what the difference is.
Yeah.
Why it's okay for him to have come here from Africa, but not for them. I wonder why he's really far from home. They're in Minnesota, far from Africa, and he's in Texas, far from Africa. What's the difference, Michelle?
I mean, again, this is where I remind people that Elon Musk's grandparents were Nazis living in Canada who basically fled to South Africa because they found shared values with the South African government and apartheid. And they raised Elon Musk's, family. Then came him, and he has failed upward, stealing the ideas of other people and making money off of them, and then basically became a almost trillionaire now, I think, by grants and loans from the United States government. I mean, and that was under the Obama administration. He is the ultimate welfare queen. But he thinks he belongs here because he's white. He's a white South African guy who he sees himself as being a genius and therefore valuable to the United States of America and the world, while he spreads his seed, having 17,000 children with all the women, because, I mean, truly, this is how these people see themselves, as masters of the universe, with daddy issues, all of them. All of them.
Yeah. So, just to be clear, we're run by a bunch of racists.
Oh, yeah.
Racists who talk about it openly.
That is the through line.
who enforce racist policies, who are locking up brown children in cages and trying to deport Black Somalis while allowing white South Africans to come here because they're quote unquote being discriminated against. If that's the case, then I guess the rest of us are supposed to, yes, my face. The rest of us are supposed to go elsewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah.
Where we're supposed to flee to.
Right. Right. And again, like this, all of this stuff has, at least the actions of it have happened in less than a year. We are not even a year into this. And this is where I warn and want to prepare people to buckle up. Not that I need to prepare anyone. I think everybody's fully aware, but it's, to buckle up. Things are going to get worse before they get better. And Donald Trump, again, at that same round table, was asked about 20 plus Republicans retiring. There is a mass exodus of representatives on the Republican side that are all going to be retiring. And they asked him, are you concerned? He says, I'm not concerned at all. I'm not concerned. Now, I think a lot of that's just because he's oblivious and doesn't care, and he thinks it's, but also some of that scares me. Some of that scares me. I'm like, what is he going to do?
That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. What's he going to do?
I think that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a problem because if we still live in a democracy with free elections, he's in for a massive, and I mean massive, problem.
Yep.
But if we live in a democracy, Donald Trump understands that he's in for a massive problem. So how does he solve it?
Well,
in previous years, look, I'll give you an example. When George Bush got shellacked in a midterm, he got rid of Donald Rumsfeld because people were voting just against the Iraq war, and and Rumsfeld obviously was the Secretary of Defense, and so Bush was like, mission accomplished, understand what I have to do, gotta throw the hostage on the tarmac. That hostage was Donald Rumsfeld.
Yep.
Didn't want to do it, but understood that if he wanted to change course, he had to do it.
Yep.
It's not like he's going to get rid of Nome, or he's going to get rid of Hexeth, or he's going to suddenly start changing policy, or he's suddenly going to start saying, yeah, you know what, tariffs are actually raising costs for people, I'm going to get rid of them. Or he's finally going to say, you know what, my anti-democratic with a small d worldview is just something that voters consistently hate and loathe, and I'm not going to do it anymore. He's not doing it. He's not doing it.
Yeah.
And when you have something like that happen, what's the result? What do you think is going to happen? He's already telling us what he's going to do. He's telling us.
They always do.
They always do.
They always do. And meanwhile, again, going on TV with while people are suffering on top of all of this like fascist authoritarianism. I mean, people are also suffering. It's not like the economy is good and he's doing this. Like everything is bad and everything is man-made. Donald Trump is doing all of this. He was interviewed by Politico and he was asked to give a grade for the economy. And this is what he said.
Pretty good.
But I do want to talk about the economy, sir, here at home. And I wonder what grade you would give
A+.
plus. A plus.
Yeah, A++++++.
Well, it's interesting because
A++++++++.
Well, listen, first of all, that Political interview was a disgrace because there's no pushback whatsoever, but that's okay.
Even though he called her dramatic for even asking about it. Yeah.
And it's interesting because I believe he agreed to do it potentially because Politico made him
the
most important man of the year, whatever.
They gave him some like little trophy or something.
An award saying he's the most important man in Europe. Okay, congratulations, Axel Springer, for sucking up some more. But I mean, look, Biden had the same problem where he kept saying the economy was great, and people were like, "What do you mean? I can't afford the price of eggs?"
Right.
Well,
yeah.
How's that working out for you? Because the price of nearly everything is up.
Yeah. I wonder, Julie, like what better way he could have messaged. And you know, you're a strategist and maybe you have a different idea here, but because things were bad, people were suffering, but we were coming out of a global pandemic and our economy had recovered or was recovering faster than any other country on earth. But it's like, how do you tell people that without sounding condescending or gaslighting them? You know what I mean? Because that's how people felt.
That our economy was recovering?
No, people felt like, no, that it's not, because I can't afford the price of eggs and I can't do this. You know what I mean? Like, even though it was better, you know.
You can't fool people into what they're feeling. You just can't. I mean, look, you have X amount of money to spend every week or every month on groceries, right? You know whether that money stretches further or doesn't. And the reality is that if you can't afford, I'm going to make this up, if you have $100 to spend on groceries a week and you used to be able to buy 10 things with it and now you're only able to buy 5 things with it, you know it, right? You know, if you can't afford to buy a brand name, cookie, so you have to buy some imposter cookie, right?
Hydrox instead of Oreo, right?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now. I mean, it's not that this is not the first time we've been here. I mean, we've gone through this kind of thing before, but COVID led to massive inflation for obvious reasons because global shipping effectively stopped. What Trump is trying to do right now with tariffs is leading to massive inflation. Not to mention all of the military stuff that they're talking about doing in Asia, potentially protecting the First Chain Islands or not. I mean, if China is allowed to control the South China Sea and make it not an international body of water, but basically an internal lake,
right?
That's 1/3 of all global shipping. I don't know if people know that. 1/3 of all global shipping goes through the South China Sea.
Whew. Yeah.
All of the ships coming to the port of Los Angeles, to the port of Seattle, to Long Beach out in California, those are all coming from Asia. Those are all coming from China. And if you saw what was happening when Trump put those tariffs in place earlier, you saw this massive armada of ships go down to a trickle and then eventually go down to almost nothing.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
tariffs. And that's goods that are coming here. Those are your clothes, those are your
Yep.
toys,
Yep.
those
I mean, like
everything.
the bottles that your lotion come in, like everything, everything. And there's like that flight. It's not flight aware, but it's like it's flight aware, but for ships. And you could go and
Yeah.
look
You
at
could
them
go
in
look at it.
real time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can go look at it, and more importantly, you can go look at it and compare it to what it was a year ago.
Right. Right. And the thing is like even the media, like even Fox has had all kinds of people on being like, healthcare has been vexing the Republicans since 2010. They haven't been able to come up with any alternative. This is screwing them because they're screwing the American people, and people aren't stupid. And again, after the A++ thing, your former colleagues over at Fox News were like almost snickering about it. I'm going to play this.
For example, food items that the American public says they just don't like it.
Yeah, the ground beef is still up there, but the president didn't even hesitate a second before giving himself an A triple plus rating. Yeah. I'm John Roberts in Washington. Good.
They're almost laughing about it because they're like, "Is this guy serious?"
Well, they're laughing about it, but then they're not having any pushback. The president didn't hesitate. Look at how strong the president is. By the way, Sandra Smith started out at Fox Business as a business reporter. She knows.
Yeah.
She knows. And so the fact that they're sitting there being like, "Oh, but look at the president. He's so forceful and he's so committed that he didn't even hesitate. He gave himself an A++. Great. I'm going to give myself a 6 foot tall blonde description right now. It doesn't mean that's true.
Right.
I'm 5'3" on a good day, and I obviously don't have blonde hair, but why don't we just pretend I'm a 6 foot tall blonde?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, that's what this is, right? Like, you can't gaslight people. I have a better shot of gaslighting people into believing that I'm a 6 foot tall blonde because you could just repeat it often enough and people will be like, you know what? I really don't care if she wants to say that. Let her say that.
Yeah.
Then you can gaslight people into believing that what they are paying out of pocket for their groceries is not what they're paying out of pocket from their groceries. If beef is $10 a pound, that's beef that's $10 a pound. That's $10 that it's coming out of your pocket.
Yeah.
To make yourself a hamburger.
Mm-hmm. And that's where, I've been reading in the New York Times that they did a roundup of like ground meat recipes that are good for feeding, a whole family and can last for a long time. I mean, this is what this is what's happening. Like we're having to do stretch meals. I don't want to go so far as being like depression era meals, but like we're headed that way where people are having to plan that way differently. Sometimes some people for the first time really having to do that. It's exorbitant amounts of, the prices. I just saw somebody in the chat saying $260 for groceries, just for me. And during the shutdown, there was videos of the food pantries where people were going, especially federal workers, and you saw like the hamburger helper stuff on the shelves was going first because that's what people were like, okay, well, I have to stretch this for as long as I can because I don't have money coming in. Well, Donald Trump was having, great Gatsby parties. And now Sean Duffy is talking about putting gyms in airports. I mean, these people are so unserious.
Well, they're unserious. Then Sean Duffy gives this whole lecture. I thought about this last night for some reason. This whole lecture about how we need to dress better for the airport the way we used to in the 1960s. And why don't people dress up more? Are you kidding me?
Shut up.
Are you kidding me? Do you know what it was like flying in the 1960s before deregulation? They would sit there and wait on you hand and foot. It was like you were sitting in a restaurant. You were not packed in like a sardine. You were literally sitting there with all the leg room in the world. And they were coming down the aisle asking you what kind of like filet mignon you wanted.
Well, everybody's smoking and yeah.
Yeah. And that was an economy. So yeah, I'll dress up for that when I'm actually going out to a restaurant.
Yeah.
In there.
Don't
dress up when I can't. And I'm short, Michelle. I'm 5'3", as I know you're.
Oh, I know. You can't cross your legs.
I can't even cross my legs when I'm sitting in a like I'm gonna wear the most comfortable clothes I can because I can't function sitting in an economy class seat and not cross my legs.
Yeah. As a very, very short person.
As
I
a
can't
short
imagine
person.
being a tall person and then you have to pay more just to be tall. That's not fair either. And so, yeah, I mean, how dare you, Sean Duffy? This is again what happens when you have unserious people who are so unqualified. And Sean Duffy's out here telling us to dress better and that he's going to put gyms in airports and RFKs like doing pull-ups, and I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous.
They're so
You know,
they're so
it's
high
so
school
performative.
idiots.
It's like sorority or fraternity, like beta. And
Yeah.
it's
Beta. I love that.
because it's it's unserious. Like again, I point people back to Sean Duffy on The Real World, running around, probably drunk, like on windows, like naked with, like I'm like, what? And you're going to come and tell people what they need. People are suffering while you're telling people that they need to dress better to travel. F off, dude. Seriously. And the farmers too. Like the farmers, he's telling the farmers, don't worry, you guys are fine. You guys are fine. Don't worry about it. Here's some money. And another thing, and I just want to play this clip here before we go. This farmer is talking about the timing of this money coming in. And just so people know, like the farmers don't want this. The farmers don't want the money. They just want to work. They just want to do their jobs without dealing with all this, like I can't. It's let me see. Is this the one? Hold on.
$1 How's that sound to you?
Well, I appreciate the help, but it's a far cry from what we need. Just the loss in corn this year with a record crop was over 16 billion. The loss in soybeans at production is around 11 billion. That doesn't count cotton and rice, which are even bigger losses than that.
So this $12 billion is not going to make up for this 1 year? I mean, say China goes back to buying soybeans and other crops.
They're not going
as they
to.
were buying before this trade war.
They're not
is
going
$12
to.
billion not enough to bridge that gap?
Probably not.
Yeah, it's a Band-Aid. This is all a Band-Aid. And just so somebody said in the comments too, it's like the exercise in the gym. You get it from running one gate to another. And I was, yes, especially at JFK. But yeah, I mean, like it's an insult to these people who are, multi-generational farmers. This is a Band-Aid. And again, China's not going to go back to buying soybeans from the United States. That's not going to happen.
No,
These people,
no, and we're giving 40 billion to Argentina.
Yep. And yeah, so this is going to get worse, and he's going to continue to double, triple, quadruple down all of these people telling us that everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's I hate to use this analogy, and it's probably inappropriate, but I'm going to say it anyways. These people all have a very similar mentality to, I think about people who are sexually assaulted and told, shh, don't worry, it's fine. Just, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and you're going to like it. It's the same thing.
I agree.
On a grander scale to the American people. And Donald Trump has been credibly accused of sexual assault and rape multiple times throughout his life. And this is how he treats women. This is how he treats people. He treats farmers. He treats other countries. He's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to hurt you. He's going to violate you. And then he's going to tell you that you like it.
Not only has he been credibly accused of sexual assault, a jury in New York City found it credible that he did sexually assault someone.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I think what I can't tell is if they truly think they're gaslighting people or they just don't care because now that they're in power, the people don't matter. It doesn't matter what, let's 90% of the American people hate him and don't agree with him. Does it matter to him? He's going to do what he's going to do.
Right. I mean, he said at one of his last rallies, vote for me and you'll never have to vote again.
Yep. On that happy note, but we do want to finish with a happy thought, which is that there are elections still taking place in this country, and we did have wins yesterday down in Georgia, down in Florida, and also, of course, that builds upon all the great successes of what's happening in places like, from California to Mississippi to Georgia again to Virginia to New Jersey to New York. This is going to be a good year next year if we have free elections. So we have to stay vigilant.
Hell yeah.
We have to stay vigilant, and we have to stay committed, and we have to stay united, and we have to stay in community with each other, which is why we're so deeply grateful to everybody here for joining us on the morning show every morning.
Even all the gripers who found us today. I had to block many people in the chat.
Oh, are there gripers in the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
More than usual.
Oh, well, welcome, gripers. Well, I'm sure that was their welcome from Nigeria or Hungary or Bolivia or wherever. Yeah. Very Pakistan. Very happy to have you here.
And I promise people I will. When I have 5 minutes, which I never do, I'm going to figure out how to make people moderators. I know who you are. I've seen your names. You've written me, and I see you, and I'm going to do it soon. So, because I really need help. I can't do everything by myself here. So, with all the buttons. So, yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you. We will see you back here tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. We might see you back here for Daily Dispatch.
Yeah, we're talking to Lieutenant Colonel Urso at noon today. We're going to talk to her with her reaction to our interview with Melissa Corrigan on Monday about the accusation leak of the deletion of video of an October boat attack. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And we will see everybody back here again also at 8 a.m. And more importantly, we will also, not more importantly, but as importantly, tomorrow's Thursday, Michelle?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is. Tomorrow's Thursday. Okay. Pax Americana is taking the week off because Olga's birthday is this week.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday, Olga.
Happy birthday to Olga Latman. She's traveling, so we're not doing the Pax Americana, but we are back with Jeff Jarvis on Friday at 11. And of course, for Coffee and Conversation.
Yep. And we're recording our first podcast for the Mayday podcast.
Yes.
We're recording it, and then it won't be live. So but we have a special guest. So I'm excited.
Okay. All right, everybody. We will see everybody soon. And thanks for joining us. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.